What's going on, guys? It's K-Dub here with another episode of Crypto Zombie. So today is Monday. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having a great start to your week. Having a look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin is not exactly having the greatest start to its week. Down 0.88%. In fact, the majority of crypto right now is pretty much in the mild red. Now, you can see we did, we basically touched down now 3 times we've touched this bottom. We did have this bounce back. We got all the way up to about 8,637. We got rejected, instantly fell back down, and currently, once again, we are trying to break this, support flip resistance, but it really hasn't been looking that great for Bitcoin. In fact, we've basically just been going sideways and then dumping and then going sideways and then dumping. So I do need to talk about this today. What is going on with Bitcoin? Because we do know that we are incredibly close to the end of this wedge. I mean, you literally can't really spend much more time in here, and you are looking for a massive Bitcoin move. We did speak about that yesterday. I'm going to go into it a little bit more detail today. Also, I want to talk about not just short term, but long term. And I want to go over 4 possible long-term scenarios for Bitcoin. Some of them good, some of them bad. We're going to go over that today. Also, the fact that Bank of America has been shutting down accounts associated with cryptos, and not just institutions, but individual accounts as well. And also, one final very interesting prediction made by a certain analyst who says we could potentially see the start of a bull run, wait for it, by this Thursday. Yes, don't kill the messenger, guys. I'm just reporting the news, but he says this because of something that's going to happen with the difficulty adjustment for the miners. So if that sounds good to you, you know what to do. Also, if you're not subscribed to the Crypto Zombie channel, well, we do this every single day. And today actually is Monday, so we are giving away the Ledger Nano S. All you got to do is drop a comment on any video throughout the course of the week, and you are eligible. That'll be at the end of the video. Also, one quick announcement starting today is the Bitcoin Brawl over at Bybit. So if you guys want to register for that, you can. I will drop a link below for that, but just wanted to remind you guys that today is pretty much day number 1, so they are starting today. So just wanted to let you know that. Now let's give this a quick refresh live. Bitcoin dominance hasn't even moved since yesterday, literally still at 65.9%. Not much has really changed here, guys. Even if you switch it to the Bitcoin comparative, still a lot of red. Very, very few coins up today. We do have a few. Now, one of them is just absolutely on a tear. Fusion up 88%. Does anybody know why this is happening? I mean, I've heard of Fusion. I know Fusion, but was there some kind of news that came out today? My goodness, 88%. 9.3 million in volume, too. So DX Chain, Ilcoin, Bytecoin, Theta, Silverway, Energy, Tezos, Chili, and Icon all putting in some gains today. Hopping over here, I don't have to tell you, volume is absolutely abysmal. And if we give Coin Farm a refresh live, you'll see, shorts, 51.31%. So still on the bearish side, guys. It's not looking 100% great. Let's have a look over here at the Fear and Greed Index, still at 38. All right, so having a look right here, you'll notice that we did have 3 touches now down to this $8,364 level. In fact, on the last wick, we went down to 8,328. 1, 2, 3. Now, you do know the more we tend to bounce on these supports, if we, don't have a nice, real rally off of it, eventually, it's like punching a hole in something. Eventually, you're going to weaken it and you're going to fall through, right? The other thing, too, is we're held down by this resistance right here, where if we were to pop up straight today, that's still sitting at around $8,600, which, interestingly enough, is where we tried to rally to yesterday. I told you, basically, we are at the end of this. In yesterday's video, the title of the video was essentially massive move or big move, whatever I said. Now, I know some people are like, oh, you said there was going to be a big move, but guys, here's the thing. I tried to tell you in advance. I don't want to tell you the day of or the day after, right? You could see right here, Bitcoin, look at this. We instantly wicked down as soon as we hit the $8,518 level right here, and we got stomped out at the bottom support at around 8,357. So this is why you have to pay attention to the charts and realize that Bitcoin is looking to make a move. However, let's be realistic here, okay? If Bitcoin cannot maintain essentially above that $8,400 level, well, there could be an issue. You could see Bitcoin Jack said, as expected, we traded lower, down $700, and now we're getting close to the green levels outlined. No bullish structure sound so far. So zooming into his chart right here, you could see that he's kind of looking at around, that $7,900, $8,000 level to really look to maybe put in a long or start accumulating again, right? Now, if we dive in over here, it's pretty apparent that we are in the more of bearish territory, right? It actually looks like we might be putting in a bit of a potential death cross with the 21 exponential, moving below the 200. And you can see right here, essentially when we did it back on October 7th, we had a few more days of sort of downwards, and then we had the massive dump. Now we did have the bounce, which was nice, but keep in mind, if you keep putting in these sort of really bearish moves, eventually the bulls aren't going to be able to, fight back essentially. So getting above this level, first of all, 200 EMA would be great, which is currently sitting at around the 8.68 level. So funny how this just plays out. You can see Crypto Michael, he's still talking about the $8,400 zone. If we don't hold this zone, well, then he's saying he's looking around the $7,400 level. So essentially, what are we getting? What are we gathering from what I've been showing you? Very bearish, right? A lot of bears saying we're going to go lower, right? But we do have one good thing holding us up, and that is the previous resistance right here has now become support. So if we are to stay above this, which we have been, you can see we actually tried to wick back here on basically Halloween. If we were to do it again, that is showing some support at around 8.1K, okay? But the other thing I wanted to point out was some people have been talking about this sort of bullish divergence, right? And this is over on the 4-hour. Now, we did have a little bit of a steeper line. We did fall below it, but ultimately, it really doesn't matter where you draw the line. You could draw it right here. Now, if you look here, the significance of that basically is, you can see Bitcoin was falling, RSI went down, up, but here, as Bitcoin started to fall, you'll actually notice it started to rally up. Now, this is a hidden bullish divergence. Does it necessarily have to play out? No, not necessarily, but I did just want to bring it up and say that that is something to maybe note if you do think that the price will flip the other way. And today's theme, I think, is going to be more long-term. I want to show you a few charts right here. This is the Ikimoku cloud. Now, keep in mind, it is a lagging indicator. I have shifted it over to overlap it to give you a better visual. Usually it shows up a little bit afterwards, but keep in mind, it is a lagging indicator. But you can see that essentially, when it does flip green, it tends to stay green for quite some time. And this is over on the weekly. And even after we had it flip green right here, you'll notice that even with all the decline, even with this bear trap, we are still in the green cloud. So that is something good to note. Also, you knew I had to break it out, the Super Guppy. Friendly reminder, on the 1 week, the Super Guppy is still full on green. You can see right here, we did have that flip right here on June 3rd. And usually, as with the other indicator, once it does flip green, it tends to stay green for quite some time. Now, the one thing I do want to point out, to just be totally transparent, this is on the higher time frames. The higher time frames are looking better. For example, monthly, very good. Weekly, looks okay. Daily and hourly, not too good, right? So if we actually go to a lower time frame, now you'll notice that the Super Guppy is actually putting in some red. So you might be saying to yourself, well, this is bad, then we put in the red, we're definitely going to dump. I do want to point out, though, that the Super Guppy does have a history of flipping into red actually when coming out of a bear market. Now, let me just show you what I'm talking about right here. So essentially, we had this red for the bear, then it flipped into green, and now we're currently having red again. But look, if we actually go back, sorry about that, guys, my camera just randomly shut off for no reason. But what I was essentially saying was, if we are looking on the daily here, you do notice that going into the red is not uncommon for the Super Guppy to do. As a matter of fact, you can see right back here, right after we came out of the bottom of, this market, we actually did put in, look, we started to go green right here out of the bear market in 2015, right? So we started to go green and then we put in a red, and we actually went green, put in red, went green, put in red, right? So it is possible to see this right here, even coming out. Everyone was probably like, yeah, we're rallying, this is great. And then we dipped into the red before having the next massive blast off. So I did want to just point that out moving forward. I still do think as long as we maintain above this red line right here, we're good, because that would still be holding the previous, parabolic trajectory, advance, whatever you want to call it. So I do think that that is, still good. Once we hit this line, if we do hit this line and we start to go lower, then we'll have to change our tune on the channel. And yes, I do still believe that we are going to have a very similar move where you have the dump, the bear trap, and the pump is, the dump. And I don't know if we've actually had the bear trap just yet. And then I would be looking for a pump, but then we might also be looking for some sideways consolidation potentially to the end of the year. Okay, so that is what I'm looking at now. Tone Vase, you guys are probably familiar with Tone Vase. He doesn't think Bitcoin's going to rally anytime soon. In fact, in a recent interview, he said that Bitcoin is probably going to fall below 7,000, and he doesn't expect a new bull run to begin until around 2022 or 2023. I think that's a little bit too bearish in my opinion. Just thinking about the fact that we have the halving coming up. You can see right here, Rect Capital, who, by the way, did an amazing article on the Bitcoin halving. Literally one of the best articles I've read. I'll drop this tweet below. You can click on the link if you want to look at it. But essentially, he says Bitcoin tends to rally exponentially after the halving. How much exactly? Well, after having number one, 3,420%, and after having number two, 4,080%. He says, so if you're waiting for Bitcoin to drop another 10% or 15% before accumulating, you're playing the wrong game, okay? So not to say that Bitcoin couldn't have one more sort of dip, a bear trap fake out, but I really do think that we are getting close to the point where Bitcoin is gonna probably chill out. There's gonna definitely be some seller exhaustion, and even if we don't have a massive blast off to the moon, you could be looking for some slow sideways accumulation, which I do think will increase in price. I think it'll slowly go up in price over time. And yes, come the halving next year, it's like May 20th or 14th, I think it's estimated to be. Yeah, I would be anticipating some movement after that, guys. So that being said, having a look over here, still currently we are struggling. We are definitely not out of the woods just yet. You see, every time Bitcoin tries to have a pump, we dump. Look right here. We had this, boom, we went sideways. Look, we had another one right here where we tried to wick up, we fell down. We had another one right here where we tried to wick up, we fell down. And currently this is the situation. So we do need Bitcoin to get above 8.5K. Then we need to get above the 8.8, then the 9.1, then the 9.4, then the 10.3. Yeah. Okay. So you can see we do have a lot of resistance overhead. So that being said, guys, be safe out there if you are trading. Also, you guys know today is day one of the competition. And if you haven't checked it out, I do have a tutorial on that and links are below. But, having a look at volume, let's have a look at the backed volume. What do we got right here? Well, currently we're at 167. Let's give it a refresh. 295. Okay. Volume is a little bit lower today. We're not exactly starting off the week with a bang. And actually, like you can see here, Satoshi Nakamoto, actually, one of the last things he commented on Bitcoin before disappearing, to quote him, he actually said, in a few decades, when the reward gets too small, the transaction fee will become the main compensation for nodes. I'm sure that in 20 years, there will either be very large transaction volume or no volume at all. Now, I don't think he literally thought there wasn't going to be any, but, keep in mind, it was an experiment back in the day. So what I wanted to talk about essentially was we love to talk about short-term price action, scalping 5Xs on the 1%, making these sick-ass gains. But realistically speaking, where is Bitcoin going in the relative long term? Well, this is actually from Bitcoinist, and I do like what they pointed out. Basically, number one, it becomes the world reserve currency, right? The government could start conducting business with other nations in Bitcoins. Nations that are subject to unfair sanctions could use cryptocurrencies to continue to exist, which I already think they're doing that right now. Will the governments ultimately accept and utilize Bitcoin? Not too sure about that. They're not really fans of things that they can't control, right? Let me know what you think about that. Number two, Bitcoin becomes a standard commodity. Price stabilizes. This would be a good scenario, right? Bitcoin and other digital currencies would become a standard part of everyday average financial portfolios and living. Cryptocurrencies could very well become something like akin to precious metals, where Bitcoin maximalists would become the gold bugs of digital currencies, right? We do have the third scenario. It's replaced by another asset, right? Now, I know there's a lot of people out there. They say there's too many issues with Bitcoin. It's got a lot of problems. It's too slow. It'll never be able to be used to be, a world reserve currency. Lightning Network's a piece of crap, right? You hear all this stuff, right? Hey, listen, I'm not saying it won't. You guys know that I am a huge Bitcoin proponent, but I'm not such a maximalist that I wouldn't accept the fact that maybe something better comes along that we, all adopt, and the network effect, because it is important to have a network effect, keep in mind, right? We are still using TCP IP for the internet, right? And we know that's not the best solution, but we had the network effect, and currently that's what we're all using, right? But we were able to build on top of it, which I do think they'll be able to do on Bitcoin. But let me know, what do you think? Do you think that eventually Bitcoin will be replaced as the number one, or do you think that Bitcoin will have other features like Lightning or maybe things we've never come up with, and even though we might have better tech, it'll never surpass Bitcoin? I'm curious. Let me know. Drop a comment below. And finally, Bitcoin crashes to zero. Now, obviously, this, I can't, first of all, it can't crash to zero, okay? Inevitably, somebody would be left holding the bag, but you can see that traditional analysts have claimed that cryptocurrencies will, at some point, any day, could be now, could be, maybe 10 years, but eventually the market will crash because it's built purely on speculation, and That's it. It's going to die. Now, I love that they actually mentioned that, Bitcoin has been killed 377 times over here on Bitcoin obituaries. And pretty much every time that they publish an article about Bitcoin dying, Bitcoin just springs back from the dead and puts in an all new time high, right? So that is the situation moving forward. But here's what I really want to talk about. This is some crazy, interesting prediction, basically saying by this Thursday, we could begin a bull run. I'm not saying we're going to do that. I'm just going to entertain this fact. So last week there was an article in Bitcoinist where they talked to 100x. You might be familiar with him. Plan B, 100 trillion. And basically he says that the previous 7% difficulty reductions in mining could actually signal the start of a major bull run if followed by a significant increase. Now, essentially right here, he shows this chart. He says next Bitcoin difficulty adjustment is roughly November 21st. This chart shows 7 years of difficulty adjustments and what a red dot positive adjustment after a blue dot negative difficulty adjustment means for price. Now, I think what he's kind of trying to hint here was essentially if we zoom in, anytime we have a blue dot followed by a red dot, we have, for the most part, a rally, with the exception, I will show you one time, which we didn't. But right here, blue dot, red dot, rally, right? Blue dot, red dot, not necessarily rally, but I would say it pretty much damn near called the bottom. Blue dot followed by red dot. Okay, we rallied up. Obviously, this was at the peak. Now, here was a situation in which we didn't, because that was where we had that major fall. So essentially, that's proving that this isn't accurate 100% of the time. But right here, you can see essentially he's aiming for, blue dot to be put in essentially by Thursday. And yeah, then we'd have the red, and he's thinking that we'd have a bigger, massive blast off. In fact, if you guys are interested, they do have the Bitcoin difficulty estimator right here. I will drop this below. That's about as fancy as it gets. It's not really more exciting than this, but if you're interested in reading what this is all about, I will drop that below. But you could see that at the current time that he pretty much said this, a 4% increase in difficulty was predicted during the adjustment. However, the article was written at a time that it had actually changed to an expected 0.8%, but recently it switched back to 4% again. Okay. Essentially, he basically stated that to analyze difficulty adjustments following an alarmingly large reduction of 7% on November 7th and November 8th, he said on further inspection, this turned out to not be as negative as it initially seemed. Such drops have occurred several times, and when followed by a significant difficulty increase, have always indicated price gains ahead. With an expected gain of 4% due on November 21st, this is surely the harbinger of good things to come. I don't know, man. This guy Plan B, he always comes out with these charts. Let me know what you think. I mean, to literally say Thursday, we're starting the bull run. Does anybody really know that? But man, that'd be one hell of a prediction, and I'm gonna stick around and see if it happens. Let's see what happens with the difficulty adjustment. So that is that situation. Also want to talk about, we have Rolif Botha. Essentially, he was the CFO, he was the CFO of PayPal. So it says, after being a Bank of America customer for 20 years, I received this notice today that they decided to fire me as their customer with absolutely no explanation. We also had Justin Sun chiming in saying, me too. I've been a customer of Bank of America for 8 years and get fired as well. And also Michael Arrington, over from XRP Capital, he says Bank of America just fired one of my top 5 venture capitalists in Silicon Valley. My only guess is that he bought Bitcoin. So just letting you guys know this, I'm just sort of a public service announcement. They're starting to shut down individual people's accounts. It's not just, you were seeing it with basically only institutions. Now you're seeing it essentially with individual accounts as well. So definitely be safe out there. If you do have Bank of America and you're trading crypto, buying Bitcoin, I mean, I don't know. It might just be a matter of time. So just check that out. Also, super quick for my altcoin friends out there, I don't exactly have the greatest news. We actually did fall below this sort of upwards trend, and now it's been acting as resistance. You can see we had this wedge, we broke out. We did hit, the 82.4 billion level, fell down. We tried to touch it again, and currently, we're sitting below the original support, now flip resistance. So not looking great for altcoins per se. Maybe looking good for a few. I mean, geez, Fusion's up 88%, so clearly some of them are doing well. Speaking of altcoins, and then let's get on out of here. The Ethereum network is witnessing a flippening, according to coin metrics. For the first time, the number of transactions powered by ETH just ETH alone, not ERC20 tokens, you're actually seeing it lower, and you're seeing ERC20s built on the Ethereum network actually having a higher amount of transactions. So this could signal that companies that are building on Ethereum are actually starting to get a bigger user base, decentralized finance, DeFi, things like that. And maybe you're actually seeing the network itself finally, get used for its purpose, right? Of course, you always do need a little bit of ETH just to send for the transaction. And we also do have some XRP news. The leader of Ripple's fundraising and development arm, Xspring, is revealing a new look at how the payment startup is trying to trigger mass adoption of the digital asset XRP, right? Because we do know we have XCurrent and we have XRapid, and, XCurrent doesn't necessarily require the use case of the XRP token, right? In a new interview with Abra, you have Ethan Beard essentially saying that the company is implementing two strategies, one to reel in financial institutions, and another to bring XRP to any person or company interested in utilizing digital assets. So that's probably good news for the XRP community. Let's have a look what's going on with Bitcoin before we get on out of here. Still struggling, guys. Keep your eyes on these levels. If you don't know the major levels, man, we've been talking about them for the past 2 weeks. I could tell you again right now. We have 8.5, 9.1, 9.5, 10.1, 10.3. Okay, those are the main sort of levels, and obviously the lower levels we've been going over because it's been quite bearish. But that being said, guys, it's Monday, and it is time to give away a Ledger Nano S. So let's do it. Obviously, we have 7 videos a week. We put out 1 a day, so we have to put this to 7. All right, generate. Number 2, so that is Tuesday. All right, so let's go to Tuesday's video. That was Bitcoin Bulls Fight Back. What is this? Add YouTube TV to Amazon Fire TV? No, thank you. I'm good on that. Appreciate it, guys. All right, so let's hop over here. Let's see how many comments we got. For the Ledger Nano S, 568 unique comments. All right, drum roll, please. Yes to the Nano. Keith Rhodes, you are the winner. Congratulations, my friend. So you know what you got to do. Basically, hop over here. Never answer any comments because there's a lot of scammers out there. So go to my official Telegram here and you can hit me up, or you can go to my About section and my email. Those are the only 2 ways to get a hold of me. Congratulations on winning. And that being said, guys, thank you so much for coming back to the channel. And that is it. It is Monday. And apparently by Thursday, we're going on a massive bull run. So there's nothing to worry about. HODL, accumulate. We're going on a bull run Thursday. Not financial advice. You know I'm kidding. I have no idea if we're going on a bull run on Thursday. But that being said, if you missed out on your chance for the Ledger,